it is my pleasure to introduce to you Madame May El Khalil, and I would like to share the stage with you, Madame El Khalil. Madame El Khalil is the founder and president of the Beirut International Marathon in Beirut in the Lebanon. And those of you who know me a little bit better know also that I try to be at least a little bit fit so that I can participate at what is called the Davos Alpine Marathon. I would never be able to run 42 kilometers on a flat, but here in Davos, the advantage is that you have to climb up 20 kilometers and then you come back downwards back to Davos. So it's like the horses, once they see where they have to go, it's somehow automatically. And that's, of course, my particular pleasure that today, this evening, we are able to combine again and to bridge gaps and disciplines, this time the sport and risk managing in terms of the keynote presented by Madame El Khalil, showing that the marathon in Beirut has and still do substantially contribute to a peacemaking process in her country, in the Middle East, and I'm sure beyond these countries. May El Khalil has founded the Beirut Marathon also more than 10 years ago. Meanwhile, the marathon hosts 38,000 participants from more than 100 countries, and Madame El Khalil has received many awards for all these achievements. For example, she is recognized for her work with the AIPS Power of Sports Award in Lausanne or the Laureus Sports for Good Award in 2011. Her target is to contribute with sports to peacemaking, and her keynote is entitled Marathon Peacemaking is a Marathon. Please, May El Khalil, the floor is yours.
Well, I don't know whether to say good morning or good evening. I've been on the road since last night, 2 a.m. But I'm very happy to be here. Actually, I'm very honored to be here. It's a beautiful city, and I hope there will be more trips for me as well to be here and join you. Thank you for your kind invitation. Thank you for inviting me. Well, in Lebanon, when a 6-year-old completes the 1-kilometer run with parents, they happily shout, "I made it. I ran the marathon." The word marathon has many meanings in my country. It defines personal achievement, breaking records, and winning awards. However, and most importantly, the term marathon has also become the definition of unity. It has grown to become the biggest national event of the year, which unites all the Lebanese under the banner of peace and sports. I believe that peace is possible through the simple act of running. Running is a sport individual by nature, but powerful by togetherness. Nelson Mandela once said, "Sport has the power to change the world. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. It's more powerful than governments in breaking down racial barriers." Lebanon endured decades of a long and bloody civil war, and even until today, in the ever so fragile country, we continue to be prone to wars, assassinations, riots, and economical breakdown. However, despite the torrid backdrop of internal conflict and regional wars, for the past 13 years, the Beirut Marathon was always able to find a way to successfully take place. Moreover, it continues to put Lebanon on the international map of sports as a worldwide classified event with top-notch ratings, logistics, and coverage. So, can a marathon stop a war? How can we make peace through sports? Does running have the power to build a unified community and an individual sense of self-worth as a citizen in the Middle East today? The answer is yes, yes, and yes, and I will prove how it works. I believe that through running, we are capable of discovering the peace that exists within each and every one of us. However, before you can change the world, you have to start with yourself. Looking back at how it all started, I sometimes wonder, how did I ever think of coming up with such an idea? My thoughts were very focused at the time. The rationale was rather simple. So I had an accident while training for a marathon. I could no longer run. So what do? I create an event in my country where everyone can run in, an event that becomes a destination for runners and an eye-opener to the adventure seekers, the Lebanese diaspora, and the world. That in this city filled with conflicts, you can run a marathon. In fact, you will run the best marathon in your life. It was this determination that made all challenges seem rather small and manageable. I was a mother, a wife, a dreamer, and a patient. Suddenly, my world was packed with meetings, strategies, conference calls, logistics, marketing, management, all from my hospital bed. And as soon as I could start walking again, I put together a small and loyal team, most of which are still part of the organization today. We went around Lebanon on a bus, distributing flyers and talking to everyone and anyone about the marathon, planting seeds towards a culture of running and well-being. I felt like a proud Avon lady knocking on doors and talking happily about my product, the power of running. Farmers, ex-militiamen, school teachers, and mayors all welcomed us with open arms. It was a refreshing visit for so many who were tired of the plagues of war. It was time to start living again. All were touched by my personal visits, and I was treated with so much kindness and generosity, traits we hold in high regard back home. I visited all political and religious parties and made more than 240 official visits in the course of 4 weeks in order to get approvals and commitments on the racetrack, participation of runners, and other logistical support. The physical pain was always there, but the motivation to move forward and make the event happen surpassed everything. You see, it wasn't about me anymore. It was about the beautiful community that was slowly coming together, perhaps for the first time in our history. However, little did I know then that the years to follow would be extremely turbulent for Lebanon. In 2005, our Prime Minister was assassinated, and in the years that followed, there would be a string of other assassinations targeting high-profile intellectuals, numerous car bombs killing innocent civilians, and of course, the Israeli invasion in 2006. My humble journey with the Beirut Marathon shaped 4 credos that linked running to peacemaking. What I just told you covers credo number 1, find your forward and step up to it. My first step was the birth of the Beirut Marathon Association. A miracle soon happened. I could run again. Well, not literally, but when 6,000 participants stood at the start line of the very first event in 2003, I felt like I ran with each and every one of them that day. And when the runners crossed the finish line, so did I. I knew then that there was no going back, only running forward. The marathon is a movement, and the movement needs movers. Despite the rise of online communication, emails, and social media networks, I discovered that face-to-face communication remains truly the most effective tool of all. Trust needs to be established, and with the risk that came with organizing the marathon, such as safety, road closure, and security, I had the pleasure to meet all the officials and police and political party leaders. Not everyone can say they had tea with the head of the internal security forces to discuss race logistics. What was usually guided by a certain protocol, waiting lists, and request letters were pushed aside because I too pushed, firmly yet tenderly, with respect and conviction. I knew that if the wait was too long, we would lose the momentum, the movement. And so during the one-on-one meetings, I was able to rally everyone to become a mover, find their forward, and take their steps up. In 2006, the son of a political party leader, Pierre Gemayel, was assassinated a few days before the marathon. 22,600 people were registered to run the races organized on Marathon Day. We had internationals coming to participate, and no one was able to give answers on how to go about this whole situation. I paid a visit to his father, former Lebanese president, Mr. Amin Gemayel, and asked his opinion on whether I should cancel the marathon for the year. His answer was as follows: the marathon is a celebration of life, and this is what the city of Beirut needs right now. Let's run and celebrate life. Death will not hold us back. Credo number 2, your marathon is everyone's marathon. Engage your community. Running means different things to different people. Within this diverse community, we found an incredible network of supporters with common values and attributes, and then created different programs that tackle the different needs of this multicultural society. For example, through our pledge system, we were able to introduce the concept of running for a charity, which became a main source for fundraising for many NGOs. Introducing the concept was not an easy task at all, but we held workshops in order to teach the mechanisms of raising funds and awareness on our platform. This type of work is especially important in Lebanon as we are lacking in government support in almost all socio-political and economical levels. Without the courageous and selfless work of these NGOs, Lebanese citizens would have a much lower standard of living. One of the best examples to give of Credo 2 engaging the community was the work that came together around the deplorable bombing in East Beirut on October 19, 2012. The car bomb detonated on a civilian street in Ashrafiyeh, destroying the homes of more than 240 families. It was 2 weeks before the Beirut International Marathon. 7 marathon runners pledged their run to raise funds for their families. To raise funds for these families, a TV broadcaster agreed to have a live telethon, and a developer created an app to track the runners and calculate donations input. An amount of $268,000 was raised and donated to the NGO put in charge of rebuilding after this catastrophe. 1 month later, everybody had a home to go back to. In engaging the communities, we bridge gaps. In 2010, we organized a Damascus to Beirut 111-kilometer ultra marathon. It was the first event of its kind. 100 people from different nationalities ran the distance non-stop as a sign of compassion and friendship between the two cities. Volunteers from both countries were on the streets, and officials, security, the Red Cross, and organizers were coordinating together to make sure the runners were all attended for. It was historic. And as runners crossed through the Bekaa Valley, I thought about the generations of runners who had come before us. The Ottomans, the Mamluks, the Romans, and of course, the Phoenicians. Once upon a time, our lands existed without borders and boundaries. Once upon a time, it was possible to have breakfast in Damascus, lunch in Beirut, and dinner in Jerusalem. We truly hope that one day, when the time is right, we can pick up this ultramarathon again between these cities. Today, during each running event across the country and in every village, tens of thousands of Lebanese who usually find themselves divided come together as one, united through sports, and with each pounding footstep, this unified version of our region takes one step forward on the path to peace. Credo number 3, find your purpose and set your milestone. At the Beirut Marathon Association, we've always believed that we are building blocks for peace and change makers in Lebanon. When we run for something greater than ourselves, for causes that make life better for everyone, I find that our faith in humanity is restored. The Beirut Marathon has caught the attention of the world. Every award received became an important milestone for us, giving us the confidence and recognition to keep pushing forward and setting new goals. Today, the Beirut Marathon Association connects with more than 520 corporate entities, 120 charities, 21 universities, and 65 schools, not to mention all the government organizations too. The events we hold belong to the community and not to us. They are the reasons that keep us going, and their consistent and growing participation is our most important and valuable milestone of all. One of our core purposes has also been to empower women and children. In 2013, we launched the 10-kilometer women's race. Apart from running, it became an opportunity for women to speak up about everything from domestic abuse to child marriages. Organizations came together to raise awareness of the state of women in our nation and had a wide media coverage through the platform of the Beirut Marathon. We also invited men to take part in the 5-kilometer run to show support to their mothers, wives, sisters, and friends. 6,350 participants answered the call and ran in white and pink t-shirts, breaking the norms and showing the true loving colors of Lebanon. It was the first time in our history that men were able to make such a large-scale public support of women in our country. In 2015, we introduced the youth race, an event targeted to kids aged between 7 and 17 years old. We believe that with growing digital and media distractions, our youth need space to connect and communicate face-to-face, explore their potentials, run on safe streets, and realize the beauty of outdoor sports. More than 9,000 participants took part in the 2016 edition. Now to the very last credo, believe, become. We recently developed a little manifesto inspired by each and every runner who takes the streets of Beirut, who runs every corner of Lebanon, who believes in the healing power of running, who believes to be a peacemaker. And it goes as such: when we run, we feel good. We run more to feel better. When we feel better, we become better people. We achieve inner peace. We accept who we are. We are confident. We are tolerant. We are in tune with our environment. We let go of our grudges. We move forward and stronger. We radiate more positive vibes. We advocate running. We advocate peace. We are peace runners. Are you one of us? So join the movement. If we are to continue being the peacemakers we have to keep inspiring and empowering the next generations of runners. What we believe, what we hold dear to our hearts can become our personal truth, can become our national identities, can set the stage for a sustainable and equitable planet. I invite you to come believe with us. The Blom Bank Beirut Marathon takes place this year on November 13. I invite you to join us hand in hand as we run for peace and a better today, as we actively become, as Gandhi believed, the change we wish to see in the world. I won't promise that all wars will end on that day, but they will one day. Every step we move together on as a unified and respectful community begins as a day closer to that dream. I may take some time, it may take some time, but it will happen. I believe it. In the end, peacemaking is not a sprint, it is more of a marathon. Thank you. I would like to present you, Mr. Walter, with something. This is something that we give the athletes when they get to the finish line, and we call them peacemakers, and we'll give it to you because you are a peacemaker and you're one of them.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. This is the emblem of the Beirut Marathon.
Thank you so much,
pleasure.
Khalil, for a wonderful, very emotional, very touchy keynote lecture. Thank you very much.